Hello, and welcome to this year's Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit. We are excited and happy that you can attend with us to celebrate this year's award winners. My name is San Wong, and I'm pleased to be the host this year. I have been a part of this amazing organization and event since its inception, and I'm always honored to help bring their remarkable stories to you. Today, we are celebrating two amazing individuals who have spent their entire professional careers supporting the entrepreneurial endeavors of countless immigrants in Minnesota and who epitomize the spirit, drive, and ingenuity of immigrant entrepreneurs. As you hear about their journeys and contributions, you will see that we are here not just to celebrate them, but to inspire all of us as well. The mission of the Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit is to bring businesses of diverse backgrounds together to share, learn, and celebrate the immigrant entrepreneurship experience and contribution to the overall community. Throughout today's events, I hope you've been able to hear some success stories of immigrant entrepreneurs and that you're working with us to create understanding among different ethnic groups, share business growth tips among immigrant business owners, and tools for success in this creative, competitive, and supportive environment. On behalf of our Minnesota immigrant communities, we thank the planning team of Minnesota and IES Board of Directors, volunteers, sponsors, and exhibitors. We want to thank our sponsors this year who helped to ensure that this event continues to take place during this difficult time. In particular, our presenting sponsor, Community CPA. Community CPA is a regional firm that believes in immigrants and is committed to supporting the success of businesses and individuals. Their Minnesota branch is located in Bloomington, Minnesota, but serves businesses across the U.S., including many in Iowa, Illinois, and California. A thank you as well to our longtime sponsor, Wells Fargo, who has supported IES since our very first event in Des Moines, Iowa in 2008. Thank you to our other sponsors, supporters, donors, exhibitors, and those who volunteer their time and expertise to educate and support new business development. An event like this does not happen without consistent support and commitment to immigrant businesses and a personal connection to the contribution and potential of entrepreneurs of all backgrounds. I'm honored to introduce to you a very special person and a personal friend. Ying Sa, who is the CEO and managing partner of Community CPA. Ying is one of the founders of the movement that led to the formation of IES back in 2008. She and other business owners recognized the need for education, for connection, and for celebration among immigrant entrepreneurs. Since that time, she and Community CPA has been the leading sponsor of IES events each of the past 13 years, as well as an extraordinary advocate for immigrant-owned businesses. During this pandemic, Community CPA's unparalleled commitment to the immigrant community has been especially visible and consistent. They have provided educational webinars in multiple languages to support businesses. Topics ranging from pandemic-related business assistance to best practices in business have been selected specifically with small businesses and those with barriers to access in mind. Ying also serves as an advocate for taxpayers, serving on the National Taxpayer Advocacy Panel. Here, she uses her thorough knowledge of the tax structure and policies to provide leadership and influence policy and practices that impact how the IRS operates to better serve the public. Additionally, she's also an author and has published a book on starting a business called Appointment with Ying at 8 a.m. and is working on her next book about growing businesses. Over the years, Ying has received many awards for both leadership and business, but takes pride in the fact that she supports the success of many others, particularly at the Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit. I'm very pleased to welcome Ying to share a few words. Let's give a warm welcome to Ying Sa.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Minnesota Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit 2021. My name is Ying Sa. I am the chair of Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit. Every nonprofit organization survives and thrives with sponsors' fiscal commitment. Community CPA is one of the sponsors of IES because we have seen first-handedly how business can struggle if they do not know business practice. Those practices can lead them to success. Years ago, I had a Hispanic-speaking client who dreamed to become a car repair shop owner and have been saving money for 5 years, finally saved the down payment, purchased the property. Guess what? His property was not zoned in the commercial area to allow him to use the property for car repair shop. So he delayed his American dream. He delayed his business plan, and he delayed everything that he wanted to start for 5 more years. So folks, this is where IES is all about. IES is a platform where we share knowledges, and IES can bring knowledge to you. I also know another client who has been in lending business for a while, made quite a few revenues because he is loaning money out to other community members, then charge a high interest, but not knowing that those kind of commercial behavior is actually highly regulated by the banking commissioner of each state. So there is a requirement for registration. Everyone can set up such an entity, such a practice, as long as you follow the rules and the regulations that here in the United States of America. And here I want to welcome you to this event. I know it is virtual, so I can't shake your hand at this moment, but I want you to feel the energy that is flowing out from the organizer of this event to you, right to your computer, right to you. I want you to be 100% committed to be with us for this hours, this day, because in business world, the connection is everywhere. And once you know what you're doing, and once you have these connections, not just virtual connections, and you will be able to do a successful business. This is the promise of IES to you when you really consider yourself as 100% entrepreneurs. And IES has a dream to be the place where immigrant business owners can fearlessly learn, can enthusiastically thrive for a better tomorrow. And IES has a spirit to be positive force for our community, where businessmen and women from all walks of life can come together in unity and win tomorrow together. Isn't that true? When our community member, if there's one doing a successful business, you see others are following suit. I don't call that competition. I call that forest. You cannot be a tree, be blossom, and be big. You have to be in the forest. So IES is creating that forest for all of us. IES has helped over 1,600 immigrant entrepreneurs to start their business. And IES helped countless businesses to thrive in their path. And we know that we can help much more when you are committed to be spending time and to be learning and to look forward for another IES event. Mark IES event on your calendar as must attend, because that's where you draw energy, not just knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the celebration of immigrant accomplishments soon. We have award winners. They are examples of today's life. Want to be great, want to be better, and you look at your model. If you don't have a model, you can never become someone better. And I believe in that, because I myself, I have models. And I look at this lady who did so much better than I can imagine. She always in my mind. Then I continue to work my work. And by the time I reach 50, I say to myself, you know what? I did what I want to do because she was my model. I arrived at the place she were before. So model is important, and those accomplishments, those award winners are your models, and follow them. Thank you for being here to support this amazing award recipients and to share their story. Remember, IES mantra is let's grow together. So let's start that growth today. Welcome to IES.
Thank you, Ying, for your vision and dedication to the immigrant business community. Next, I would like to introduce Minnesota's Secretary of State, Steve Simon. Steve Simon is Minnesota's 22nd Secretary of State. He was sworn into office on January 5th, 2015. At his inaugural address, he pledged to work with anyone of any political affiliation from any part of our state to protect, defend, and strengthen the right to vote in Minnesota. His goals as Minnesota's Secretary of State are straightforward: expand access to voting, remove barriers to voting, make business services as streamlined as possible, strengthen protections for victims of domestic violence, and most importantly, be a Secretary of State for all Minnesotans. Let us welcome Secretary of State Steve Simon to share with us his passion for providing access to immigrants and underrepresented populations in Minnesota with the right to vote, and the pleasure to earn, and the joy to live an American dream.
Hi, this is Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon. I want to thank the organizers so much for including me once again in this Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit. It's really my honor and my pleasure to be here. I'm proud to be Minnesota Secretary of State, and I'm proud also to be the son of an immigrant. My mother was from Austria, born and raised, but I have another personal immigration story to tell on my father's side. My great-grandparents came from Eastern Europe, and I like to say they didn't just immigrate, they fled. They fled from discrimination and persecution, and they came to Minnesota to build a better life. And how did they do that? They started a business. Even though they didn't know English very well, and even though they didn't have a lot of money, they settled on Minnesota's Iron Range in northeastern Minnesota, and they opened a dry goods store for miners and their families. After years there, they then moved to the Twin Cities, where they started a children's clothing manufacturing company. And they were successful. They found the life that they were looking for in America and in Minnesota. And many of you today are repeating a similar journey, and that makes me glad. I want to say something that needs to be said, I think now more than ever. And that is, I am grateful to all of you for choosing America and for choosing Minnesota. We are a better place because you are here. Today, we have some specific examples of people who make that statement true. And I want to just take a minute right now to honor some of the people who are receiving awards at this very summit. First, Tong Tao of the St. Paul Area Chamber is receiving the Immigrant Champion Award. This award recognizes a non-immigrant who is dedicated to making a positive impact on the immigrant community and for demonstrating personal and professional commitment to and advocacy on behalf of immigrants and their families and communities. Congratulations. The second honoree is Dr. Bruce Corey of Innovative Edge LLC and Concordia University, St. Paul. He is receiving the Immigrant Spirit Award. This award recognizes a first-generation immigrant who has demonstrated a lifelong commitment to professional and/or business excellence and altruistic pursuits, leaving a broad and substantial impact on the immigrant and larger community. Congratulations. The third award recipient is Fuad Masruja, owner of Falafel King. He is receiving the Outstanding Immigrant Business Award. This award recognizes an immigrant-owned business that serves as a model and inspiration of success in both profit and philanthropy. Congratulations. These award recipients and so many others show that immigrants have been essential to our way of life and that immigrants will be essential to our future. Has to be said. Now, look at the numbers and look at the facts. They really do tell a success story, not just in Minnesota, but around the nation. There was a study released in 2019 by the Center for American Entrepreneurship that found that 43% of Fortune 500 companies and 57% of the top 5 companies in America were founded by immigrants or by a child of an immigrant. 51% of all US startup companies valued at $1 billion or more, the so-called unicorns, they have at least one immigrant founder, according to the National Foundation for American Policy, a nonpartisan public policy research organization. Now, the seminal studies in this field suggest that a high proportion, approximately 25% of high-tech firms are founded by immigrants. And most researchers in the field believe that immigrants are more likely to found businesses than native-born Americans, especially in the high-tech sector, and that these businesses generate more innovations than the average native-founded businesses. So here's why all of that is important. It's not just a fun statistic. It's not just of passing interest. Here's why it's important. So Neil Kashkari of the Minneapolis Federal Reserve Bank in recent years published an op-ed, an article in the Wall Street Journal. And he basically asked this question. He asked the question, can't policymakers achieve faster growth without further ballooning our national debt? How do you do that? How do you strike that balance? How can you get the growth without increasing the national debt and deficit? And the answer, the conclusion he came to was, yes, you can balance those things. You can avoid risk and at the same time have a big upside when it comes to development and growth. And the way to do that is to increase immigration levels to this country. That's the way you do it. That's the way you strike that balance. And that's hopefully the path that we're on right now. Now, some immigration opponents, as you well know, fear that immigrants will somehow compete with native-born Americans for jobs. But we know that the bulk of economic research shows that immigration has led to faster overall growth and a better standard of living for everyone, not just a few, but for everyone. It raises the tide for all Americans, native-born or not. So if Congress and the new administration can deliver reforms that boost legal immigration by, say, 1 million people a year and tailor the policy to prioritize workers who meet the needs of the economy, the Minneapolis Fed estimates that growth would increase by at least 0.5 percentage point a year under the most conservative assumptions, with no corresponding increase in the federal budget deficit or the national debt. That is remarkable. So immigration really is the key to our national economic survival and the key to a thriving economy. Now, here's how the Office of Secretary of State can help, at least in Minnesota. We are really the welcome mat for Minnesota businesses, meaning that we are the very first step that anyone takes when starting a business. Before you get a tax ID number, before you get a license or a permit or insurance, you have to come to our office and actually file the entity with our office. We also do something in Minnesota called the Minnesota Business Snapshot. The Minnesota Business Snapshot is a voluntary service, or survey, I should say, for every business in Minnesota. So every time a business files or renews every year that filing, they have the option to answer up to 5 different questions, totally voluntary, but 5 different questions about who they are and what they do, including whether the business is owned by an immigrant or partially owned by someone who came to this country. So we want to use this information to connect businesses with other businesses, with business owners, and with customers. So hundreds of thousands have participated in this survey. And we have found the most recent data that we found was about 8.5% or so of all businesses in Minnesota are immigrant-owned or partially immigrant-owned. That's astounding. About 8.5%. That's a very healthy number, and I suspect it will climb. So the list is available to you, and we want to continue to make the Minnesota Business Snapshot something that you or anyone in Minnesota can order to find out about who's doing in business in Minnesota, and what is the nature of the business and the business owners. So in the future, we want to collaborate with other state agencies to do training sessions with entrepreneurs and new business owners. And that is something that I'm personally very involved in and excited about, doing those sessions all over Minnesota in partnership with other organizations around the state. So stay tuned for that. Now that we're all slowly coming out of COVID, now that something like normal seems that it's within reach, that is a project that we really want to undertake. So I want to end with just another thank you again. And that is that the future of our country and our state and its economy depends on you at this conference. And I look forward as Secretary of State of Minnesota to many more years of partnership and collaboration and sharing successes. Thank you again for having me. It's my honor and my privilege.
Thank you, Secretary Simon, for sharing your thoughts with us today and for your leadership and commitment to a Minnesota that flourishes with diverse businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for us to witness the accomplishments of immigrants and their champions. This year, we have 2 outstanding awards and recipients, and we are proud to be able to present their stories. We hope you will enjoy hearing about them and are as inspired by them as we are. As you listen to their histories and their accomplishments, please feel free to put your congratulations in the chat box. Our first award is the Karen Evans Immigrant Champion Award. We are proud to recognize the legacy of Karen Evans's earnest and personal commitment to assist individual immigrants. This award recognizes an organization or a non-immigrant who is dedicated to making a positive impact on the immigrant community. Honoree demonstrates both a personal and professional commitment to and advocacy on behalf of immigrants and their families and communities. This year's award goes to Tong Tao of the St. Paul Area Chamber. Let's find out more about Tong's journey and accomplishments.
Except for the time that he was in college, Tong Tao has spent his entire life in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis-St. Paul. His parents, along with his brother and 3 sisters, migrated to the United States in 1986, just 4 years before he was born. Growing up in an immigrant family with limited English proficiency, he, from a very young age, had many adult responsibilities, including paying bills, home maintenance, and navigating other aspects of life in the United States. His father was a shaman in the Hmong community, whom Tong often accompanied as an apprentice when he performed healing rituals. When he was only 13 years old, his father's untimely death interrupted his tutelage. But that experience instilled in him a lasting commitment to be a source of guidance and support for the Hmong community. By this time, his siblings were no longer living at home, and he had to take on even more responsibilities. Tong feels deeply about the sacrifices his parents made to ensure for him a better upbringing and education than their own, and takes to heart their sage counsel to live each day with gratitude and a positive outlook. Tong's degree in geography provided him with an important foundation to understand the value of unique and distinctive characteristics of individual neighborhoods and how successful planning can provide solutions to complex social, environmental, and economic challenges of race and place. He has honed those skills as he advanced into progressively more responsible positions in the arena of community and economic development. In addition to his experience as a community organizer and small business owner, he has also worked with farmers to transition from hobby farming to a sustainable business model that can be scaled for wholesale. Currently, Tong is the relationship manager for the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce and interim director for the Minnesota Hmong Chamber of Commerce. With the expanded platform and influence of the chamber, he is able to connect small business owners to more prominent businesses in the region whose patronage accelerates and sustains growth for small businesses. He also serves as a primary contact for small business members of the chamber and provides them with guidance on how to establish and improve their credit, utilizing personalized strategies that manage debt and build wealth. Throughout his professional career, Tong has applied his knowledge and connections to help immigrants navigate complex systems. He understands the mixture of trepidation and hope of aspiring new and struggling entrepreneurs and is able to penetrate the fog of propaganda to express with genuine concern and unique clarity the issues and barriers they face and the means to tackle them. With grace, confidence, and calm, Tong has boundless patience for their questions, ideas, and doubts as he helps them work their way through the mental clutter of fears, uncertainty, and past disappointments to ignite the passion and purpose of their American dream. As a community volunteer, Tong has been instrumental in securing the designation of May 14th as Hmong American Day in the state of Minnesota. He also serves on the Neighborhood Star Board, which provides grants and loans to businesses and nonprofits in St. Paul and routinely helps people with the application process as well as advocate for them at the board level. With a staunch belief that instead of moving to a better place, people can stay in their neighborhoods and transform it into that better place. He has been instrumental in the infusion of capital and business activity into deteriorating or neglected areas, which has led to a revitalization of impoverished neighborhoods in his beloved city of St. Paul. Tong's commitment to his community and his profession is succeeded only by his dedication to his family and friends. He currently lives in St. Paul with his wife, Mai Nia Law, his mother, and his dog Jojo. Tong also finds balance in his life with an occasional evening of karaoke with his friends and has recently taken up woodworking as a hobby. When he encounters obstacles and challenges, Tong sees promise and possibilities. He helps immigrant entrepreneurs turn vulnerabilities into strengths and competitive advantage for their business. At the same time pragmatic and idealistic, he finds the balance that is most helpful to realizing his vision of a multicultural St. Paul. For utilizing community and economic planning to achieve social justice and the revitalization of neighborhoods that lifts and levels the playing field for immigrant entrepreneurs in other vulnerable communities, Tong Tao is recipient of the 2021 Immigrant Champion Award.
Please welcome Tong Tao as he receives this year's Karen Evans Immigrant Champion Award by adding your comments into the chat. Congratulations, Tong, for being the 2021 Karen Evans Immigrant Champion Award recipient.
Thank you, San. Hello, everyone. I am so deeply honored and humbled to receive the Immigrant Champion Award. I want to thank everyone who has helped me and continues to help me on my journey. First and foremost, I would like to thank my mother, who supported me when I was volunteering and doing community work. My late father for sacrificing his childhood and ultimately his life to bring me and my family into this amazing country of opportunity. My previous co-workers who mentored me into the world of business and entrepreneurship and showed me that one of the greatest ways to build wealth is through starting your own business. I also want to thank my current co-workers who believed in my visions and life mission and provided me with a larger platform to continue my work. As a child of immigrant parents, it was instilled in me that I was the future of our family, that education was the key to success, and that I needed to help people along the way. The only way for me to succeed was for others around me to succeed as well. This fully manifested itself when I was working with Hmong farmers, seeing how much work they put into their crops, the pride they showed when they harvested their beautiful vegetables, only to be lowballed at the farmers' markets. I showed them that they should look at their hobby as more of a business, that they can secure better prices when selling to wholesalers and branding themselves appropriately. This later evolved into working closely with business owners who needed access to capital, but mostly operated at a cash basis and had little to no accounting records. It took me almost a year with each business to straighten out the records and prepare them to meet with bankers or granting agencies. This led to successfully funding several businesses to supply them with inventory or capital improvement on their existing business. If anything, it showed me that for your business to succeed, you need to do things the right way from the start and focus on building good habits. It also helps if you actively seek the many free resources available to you and put in the work required to get things done. Don't be afraid to spend money to make money or just to protect yourself from losing money in the future. We all want to build a legacy for our family and for our children and leave them with a better world. So we need to start things off at the right foot. Thank you, IES, for the award, and have a great rest of your day.
Congratulations again, Tong. We are so inspired by your commitment to the immigrant community and your willingness to respond to the needs you see in the community. Our next award is the Immigrant Spirit Award, which honors a first-generation immigrant who has demonstrated a lifelong commitment to professional business excellence and altruistic pursuits. The honorees' accomplishments and contributions have broad and substantial positive impact on the immigrant and larger community. We are delighted this year to honor Dr. Bruce Corey with this award. Here are some highlights of his journey and accomplishments.
Born in India to parents dedicated to public service, it is no surprise that Dr. Bruce Corey spent his entire professional career in service to those without wealth and influence. Whilst his father, an architect in the Army, built public structures like hospitals and schools, Dr. Corey devotes his time to building wealth within disenfranchised communities. He also emulated his mother's calling as an educator when he became an economics professor at Concordia University in St. Paul, Minnesota, after earning his PhD in economics from Notre Dame University in 1988. A humble and brilliant man, Dr. Corey credits many for helping him succeed when he arrived in the United States for graduate school with only $25. In the early years, he lived sparingly, not knowing if he would have the resources to complete his studies. But with the help of family back home and generous benefactors in the United States, he flourished. It was here that Dr. Corey developed a model he called the Policy Mandala, a comprehensive strategy for economic development. This seminal work remains the foundation of his contributions as a professor and administrator at Concordia University and as a community economist. Over the last 3 decades, Dr. Corey has imbued the initiatives he led and people he touched with his values of inclusion, optimism, and compassion. With a clear and incorruptible devotion to multiculturalism and a relentless drive to improve and learn, he is never singular in his motive and impact. Instead, he sets the tone for lifting every discourse, plan, and project to its highest purpose. When he initiated a program to support the successful graduation of minority students at Concordia, he involved faculty and staff from all sectors of the university who would be intricately involved in student success throughout the process from grant writing to program implementation. This heightened the understanding of faculty, staff, and administrators, as well as their engagement in meeting the academic, financial, and emotional needs of their students. Clear-eyed on the devastating ills of injustice, Dr. Corey uses his extensive knowledge of the economic cost of racism to expand and refresh perspectives of power brokers with an infectious grace and optimism. This included the diversification of leadership and other economic inclusion strategies in city government when he served as the Director of Planning and Development for the City of St. Paul, and a blueprint to address racial economic disparities called the Minnesota Solution. He is also credited as a pioneer in the creative industry in the Twin Cities for offering a model of economic development in diverse low-income neighborhoods called cultural destinations, where cultural assets helps build wealth and community relationships. While renowned for these contributions, those closest to him know him as a family man, faithful son to his parents and extended family, devoted spouse to his wife Emma, herself an accomplished leader in state government. Together, they are proud parents and exemplary role models to their most important legacies, daughter Christina and son Sean. Nothing dampens Dr. Corey's confidence in others or his sanguine views of life as he persistently seeks a path forward. Among the causes he champions, his deep knowledge and kindness rises above all social, religious, and political differences to influence the thinking and decisions of policymakers and community leaders from every sector. Always delivered with humility and grace, his views and counsel include concrete, informed solutions with specific strategies and steps for implementation. In the process, he has built a wide network of individuals and institutions who value and rely on his candor and insight. Considered by many to be the conscience of his campus and his community, Dr. Corey's charisma comes not from showmanship, but from the substance of his ideas and beliefs. Endlessly resourceful and steadfast in advancing the lives of vulnerable populations, his knowledge, skills, and reputation extends beyond the United States. Dr. Corey has been recognized and invited to lead and participate as a guest lecturer and collaborator on a variety of projects around the world. He has traveled to 27 countries across 6 continents. For his vision and work towards a compassionate and humane, wealth-generating infrastructure that creates access to a life of peace and plenty for all, and for his incomparable impact across diverse communities, Dr. Bruce Corey is recipient of the 2021 Immigrant Spirit Award.
Please welcome Dr. Corey with your congratulations in the chat box as he receives this year's Immigrant Spirit Award. Congratulations, Dr. Corey, on being the 2021 Immigrant Spirit Award recipient.
Thank you for celebrating the immigrant spirit today. It is that spirit that wanders into the unknown with a deep faith in the possible. It is that spirit that knows how to rebound when beaten by life's curveballs. It is that spirit that knows how to live with little as well as with plenty. It is that spirit that seeks to build in gratitude the community that we made home while not forgetting to build up the community we left behind. It is that spirit that looks at the old with the eyes of the child and sees new possibilities. It is the spirit that understands that whatever success we achieve stands on the shoulders of others, especially the oppressed groups within the communities we live in, who worked hard for equality, justice, and equity. So if you see that spirit, that immigrant spirit reflected in me today, I'm deeply honored. Thank you. So what was the experience of this immigrant spirit that you have chosen to honor? I came to the US from one of the most remote parts of India, where to study abroad was more than a fiction than a dream, as communications and networks of power and influence were too weak to open doors for opportunity. So what was the secret sauce? It was the generosity of my father, Sidney Corey, an architect, who designed institutions for free that included buildings from colleges and hospitals and chapels. It was the fortitude of my mother, Dorothy Corey, a teacher, who instilled in us the desire to be educated. My parents opened a door for me that angels entered and cleared a path for me to study at the University of Notre Dame. Two strong angels in particular, Reverend Thomas Burroughs and Reverend Joe Callahan. So as a youth, I wanted to take on systems of oppression and open doors of opportunities for all, and so completed a doctorate in economic development at Notre Dame. My thesis documented the fact that the emperor has no clothes. Our policies, our actions, our decisions ultimately takes its toll on the most vulnerable, the child in poverty. So what do we do about it? The core strategy of racism and xenophobia is to deny a person's value, and in doing so, it becomes easier to exploit and oppress them. So we must challenge that falsehood and treat people as assets. My life's work in Minnesota has been to document and celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit of what I call the Alana communities, African, Latino, Asian, and Native American people. I use the word ethnic capital and immigrant capital to provide the context that the Alana people are assets to Minnesota and the nation. Alana people build the local economy as consumers, entrepreneurs, workers, taxpayers, cultural capital, and through civic engagement. A $1.4 trillion asset in Minnesota, which is bigger than the economy of Mexico. I've been blessed to be a pioneer with a few other in Minnesota in a blue ocean strategy, what we call cultural destinations. So what we do here, we take the stone that the builders rejected, the value, the cultural assets of people, and make it the cornerstone. So in a cultural destination, you'll see a business infused with cultural assets that offers this experience to a visitor. And the visitor enjoys that experience, the business grows in wealth. The community at large is affirmed that their values are celebrated by all, and it's an empowering strategy in diverse low-income communities. So for example, during the pandemic, we organized the Taste of the World tour, where people could go to restaurants from Mexico, Somalia, Burma, India, Thailand, and experience those cultures. At the same time, it helped those businesses during a very critical time in their life. And so wealth building in itself is not enough. People also need to be empowered to liberate from many social, emotional, material, and spiritual forces that blunts their pathways to success. Authentic human liberation is needed for permanent change, and that was one of the fundamental insights through this life journey. And so my work as a community economist proved that data empowers. The data I produce on the economic contributions of immigrants and minorities have been effectively used to challenge falsehoods and xenophobia time and time again as different communities emerged as scapegoats. I remember a mother sharing when the Muslim community was under great stress a few years ago, and she shared how she shared the data of a report we did on the economic contribution of African immigrants, and told her daughter to put her head up because she is offering much of value to Minnesota. And this past few months, I've been invited by the leadership of the Minnesota House Legislature, very powerful movement on their part to bring equity and diversity and inclusion into the heart of what they're doing. And so I presented on the economic cost of racism that Minnesota, it costs the Atlanta communities about $287 billion in assets. And this $1.4 trillion asset could be a very powerful engine for economic growth in Minnesota that'll benefit everybody. But in order to do that, we need to move from our old way of thinking of scattered investments and begin to offer a comprehensive set of wealth-building tools and infrastructure for success. So thank you, IEUSA, Wamang Mua, Catherine, San, Jean Jajalou, Jane Leonard, Dr. Cheryl Chapman, and others who are honoring me. Thanks to Concordia University, where as a professor of economics, I can blend work and community seamlessly. Thanks to my wife, Emma, children, Christina and Sean, for enabling this work while we live our life as a family. Thanks to my extended family and friends, and I also want to express my indebtedness to the African Americans and Native Americans and others who worked very hard to free the shackles of oppression and enable my success. What I offer back in return through my life's work is but a small gesture of eternal gratitude to the many who have kindled this immigrant spirit. Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Corey, for your dedication and your inclusive and systemic approach to address the needs of the immigrant business community. That concludes today's summit. Congratulations again to our Inspirational Award recipients, Tong Tao and Dr. Bruce Corey. If you have not done so, please drop a note of congratulations in the chat. Remember that you can nominate someone for next year's awards. A link to the nomination form is in the chat box. These events are made possible by generous sponsorships and donations. Please donate if you are able. Finally, we hope to see you on November 20th this fall for the National Immigrant Entrepreneurs Summit. I hope you have found the information today useful and the connections meaningful. We look forward to seeing you at a future event.